Hi, this is Dr. Tom with Causenta Wellness and Cancer Care Center. This is part of our ongoing series regarding cancer myths. Today's cancer myth is that going to a cancer treatment center in Mexico is better than going to a cancer treatment center in the United States. This is one of those, let's say, myths that I hear several hundred times every week. So basically what happens is something along these lines. We allow every cancer patient to go to our website and fill out a form and get a free consult. As part of that free consult, we kind of get a chance to understand that individual and their story, like what's the history behind, their cancer, what type of cancer, how long have they had it, when were they first diagnosed, what treatments have they had done so far, what places have they gone to, and we get a little bit of detail, and then we kind of give them an overview of like, well, here is how we approach it at Causenta, and this is why we have such superior outcomes to all these other centers around the world. And then people start asking questions, and then we start sharing things with them that they never heard before. So one example might be that we do an extensive amount of testing using some of the finest labs in the world for what some of the best immunologists and medical scientists are involved in studying the genetics or the oncogenetics of cancer, or sometimes it's called somatic mutations. And we leverage this information and combine that with exercise and nutrition programs that help our patients get ridiculously strong. We have people being discharged with no evidence of disease and doing 100-pound dumbbell rows. You don't see that at any other cancer treatment center in the world. And so as we kind of go through this stuff, they'll typically say things like, wow, that's impressive, and how do I get involved? And every once in a while, someone will say, well, do you do this therapy? Or do you do that therapy? And so then I would say, actually, we don't. And they would go, why not? And I would tell them, well, because of the hundreds of people that we monitored that did that therapy, none of them survived. So it doesn't make sense to us to simply do therapies because other companies are marketing them when we could see the actual objective data that they're not working. And one of the things that we uncovered is that many times people are told, when they call a center in Mexico, they're told, oh, we have these amazing outcomes. And then I'd say, great, what are they? Can I see a PET scan? Can I see some objective lab tests that tells us, hey, this person was in a really bad spot, and after the therapies or treatments performed, they're now in a much healthier place? I don't get to see any of that data. And so what happens is typically people say, well, let me think about it. And then we call a check-in on them, and we hear, oh, they went to Mexico. Say, okay, great. How are they doing now? Oh, I'm sorry, they're no longer with us, is what their family members say. So recently, I had someone that had a tumor in their, let's just say in the head and neck area. And they decided they were gonna raise some money through a GoFundMe campaign and go to Mexico. And so I said, well, I don't really recommend that because we have really good results with that type of cancer here. And you could talk to any of the patients, they're gonna tell you they've done spectacularly well. So that individual decided, well, I already committed to going to Mexico. I'm gonna go to the center that I heard really good results about. So they went, and then I asked my staff to check in on them about 3 weeks later, because they were told, well, we can get rid of they were told by the center of Mexico that they can get rid of that cancer in 3 weeks. I don't have any data from any center in the world indicating that that is possible, but I'm not gonna argue with someone I don't even know. So that individual went there. So now about 4 weeks later, my staff contacts them, says, hey, how you doing? Just wanted to see how'd you made out? And they reported, or the individual reported that, well, the tumor is larger than ever, and now I'm so tired I can't get out of bed. And so when my staff said, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, is there anything we can do, to help you now? And they said, no, I think I waited too long to make a decision, and I'm just gonna, wait this out to the end. And what's really unfortunate or sad is this is the type of story we hear from 100 to 300 times every month. And part of that is because people are convinced based on something they read on a website or a conversation they had maybe 1 or 2 times over the telephone, maybe even a Zoom call, that a center that did not offer any objective testing or assessment could somehow treat them. And what I just want everyone that sees this video to be aware of is that what science tells us is that each person's cancer is somewhat unique. And where there might be general properties, like cancer has the ability to undergo uncontrolled proliferation, meaning it just keeps making more cells. Or that cancers in certain parts of the body, they may grow and spread to other parts of the body. So those types of potential aspects of cancer are very similar. The underlying genetic and proteomic mechanisms driving cancer to spread for each person, they could be vastly different. And because there could be so many differences, it's unlikely that you're just going to call a center and they're going to know how to treat your specific cancer without having any objective data about the cancer that's in your body. And so as of right now, what we're doing that makes us pretty unique is we use Tempus Labs, we use Onconomics DX, we use several other labs that sort of provide us genetic data, so mutations specifically about individuals' cancer. We also look at RNA and we do exome analysis of the tumor. And then we combine that with proteomic analysis of the tumor tissue. And those details help the oncologists or the physicians to better understand, like, how is this cancer spreading? But more importantly, it gives the patient ideas of the types of therapies that would benefit them. So instead of them reading something online and hoping that they're going to get results from that information online, which is, it's kind of like, you got lucky or you're guessing. Instead, we're using cutting edge technology to say, hey, here's what's going on inside your tumor that's driving the cancer to grow and spread. And then that helps people get better quality therapies and more accurate or precise therapies. And given the outcomes we're seeing so far, it seems to be the best approach that we know of right now. But what makes us unique at Causenta is we're not married to a given treatment or given technology. We are committed to doing whatever it takes to help the individual. And I think to that end, that's another reason why the outcomes we have are just so much better. So as an example, during that same 3-week period that the patient that went to Mexico and progressed, meaning our cancer got much worse, we had another individual with a very similar cancer that achieved no evidence of disease at roughly the same time. And not only did that individual achieve no evidence of disease, they also gained muscle. Whereas the patient or the person that went to Mexico, there was no exercise program, there was no strength coach, there was no nutritionist that said, hey, we're going to measure biochemical and physiological parameters and tell you what to do. They already had a diet plan that everyone in the center was following. And we already know, talk to any biochemist or expert in nutrition genetics, I'm going to say one-size-fits-all approaches just don't work for everyone. So I hope this video was informative and got you to think about some things a little bit outside the box and not just, buy into the trap that can sometimes appear. Some of the information that you come across on the internet or some of the information that gets shared through salespeople from Mexico on the telephone, it can be very compelling. It can seem very credible. But to date, I haven't seen any objective data coming from these centers that shows their outcomes are anywhere near the outcomes of the centers here in the United States.